So nice to meet you. I just met you a few minutes ago, and I've
It is
seen
a
you
blessing.
around, and you look older than you are. You're
I'm 22.
22,
I know. I'm
and you
22.
started sharing this story with me, and I was like, I got to capture that and share with more people.
Yeah.
I said, stop. 5 minutes, so this will be like a 5 minute. I like to do these real short videos.
Okay,
so
okay.
Try to keep it at about 5 minutes. Start with where you started with me when you were saying so your grandma had got cancer. She was like your mother.
She was like my mother. So I was born in El Salvador. So it's a beautiful country in Central America. And my mom, she left me in El Salvador when I was 1 year old.
Okay.
And I
Where
stayed.
did she go?
She came to the United States, to the U.S., to Kentucky actually.
Okay.
So I stayed with my grandma. I actually never met my mom until I came to the U.S. later on. But I was, raised with my grandma. She was the first Adventist in the family. She was the first person to go to church. But when I was 10 years old, she was diagnosed with cancer, and that was a huge thing for me because she was the type of person that would always speak about the love of God.
Yes.
And when I would see somebody suffer from cancer, and I was like, how can God do something like that to somebody, And
That is a question a lot of people have.
yeah, and I had that
There
question.
are answers, good answers.
I struggled with that question for a long time, but she passed away 6 months later. And then after that, I stopped believing in God. I started doing crazy stuff. I started doing drugs. I started getting involved in gangs and all that. But when I was 14, my mom told me, she was like, you got to get out of El Salvador because it's getting dangerous. Because at that age, 14 is where you start getting recruited to start joining the gangs. You start doing, these jobs to get in gangs. So she was like, we got to get you out of there. So she paid somebody to get me to the United States, and when I was in Mexico, I was in trouble. And then somebody
Is
called.
that the border?
That's the border, yeah, between Mexico and the United States. Somebody called my mom and told her, that as long as she would give the money that was needed, that I was okay. But it was this famous gang in Mexico that is known for killing people. So my mom got super worried, and that was the first time that she prayed to God, and she was like, God, if you bring my son safe to the U.S., I promise you we're gonna start going back to church. And a lot of stuff happened after that. Like, it was 2 months that it took me from El Salvador to here, but I made it safe. A year passed by, and I remember one day my mom sat me down and she was like, I need to talk to you. I was like, what's wrong? She was like, I remember I made a promise to God, when you were in the border, and I promised him that I was going to start going back to church if you were here safe. And now here you are, so we need to start going back to church. And I was like, church for me, I was like, no, I don't want to go back to church. We don't need church. So but she was like, no, if you're here, it's because God brought you here. So she went to her computer and she typed Adventist churches near me. And the first church that came up, next Saturday, we went to that church. And
where was that?
That was in Kentucky.
Kentucky. So
Yeah.
the border, when you were there, was it California, Texas?
It was
Arizona?
Texas. It was McAllen, Texas.
I see.
Tamaulipas, Mexico. It was that border right there. Yeah.
So now you're telling me your interest is in ministry and studying theology and going to Southern College, or
I am going to Southern Adventist University. I just finished my 3rd year. So right now I'm doing like a missionary year here in Hawaii, an internship, to learn more about what pastoring is,
Okay.
What a pastor does, and get more hands-on experience. And then I'm gonna go back to Southern and I'm gonna finish my last year, and I'm gonna get interviewed by,
So the bottom line here is, if God can work in your life like this, He can work in other people's lives. And so I was thinking back to when I was in Africa, working with some of the Southern students, senior class there, and you were 2 years old.
I
It's
was
a long
2
time
years
ago.
old.
So he was born in El Salvador. His mother left him there, came to the U.S. pursuing, work
Better
probably and a better life. His grandmother raised him, but got cancer when he was 10 and passed away. And then he was trying to get to America and meet up with his mother. Ended up at the Mexico border, and now becoming a pastor, working for the Lord. It's quite an amazing story.
It's a huge change.
Thank you so much for sharing that with
it's
us.
a pleasure.
Can I have your permission to share this with people on YouTube? And I'm working with a lot of different people, young men and women, and they often think, oh, well, that's him, and God can do that for that person, but not for me. You don't understand my circumstances. I just talked to a person right now, this morning, the horrible circumstances, and I start to think of people I've met like you with similar stories that God brought them from a low spot and brought them into a time when life is good, isn't it? Beautiful wife is such a blessing. Well, thank you so much. I don't know how many minutes that was.